Strategy battle gamers around the world, welcome to the video you've all been waiting for. You are of course here with your GBHL channel host, GBHL James, and we are but a week since the Throne of Skulls Hobbit SBG tournament down at Warhammer World in Nottingham. It was of course a very, very special event because it was going to be the first occasion where we got to hear about the future of our wonderful, beautiful hobby, which of course has been, or seemed to be, in absolute dire peril for such a period of time now. Now, at the start of this video, I'd like to point out a couple of things. First of all, I am not an employee of Games Workshop. I'm a fan of the game. I run this YouTube channel because it is part of my hobby and I feel very privileged to be part of it. I also feel very privileged to be privy to some of this information, and as such that is why I haven't just put up a video just straight away outside, just running through some of the details of what was said. It's also the reason why I haven't just gone on Facebook and put a post on there. I felt that the information I heard on Saturday evening from Adam Troke, who of course is a big part in Hobbit strategy battle game design, he was the rules writer, and of course he is now the manager of the new project for Middle-earth going forwards. I felt so blessed to be part of that seminar, and felt that the content was so great that it deserves really good content covering it, and hopefully this video will be part of what we give you on this channel. Of course it is almost 100% that the guys down in Plantier and the Plantier team will be discussing this in depth as well, so you will have their opinions on it and hopefully a fresh outlook. Maybe they picked up on some of the things that I missed out on. And I have also put up a Speak Friend in Question, Middle-earth Speak Friend in Question, a little bit of a hint now as to what is to come. I put up a Speak Friend in Question, and I encourage all of you to get yourselves as soon as possible. Jamie and I will be getting together this weekend, but as soon as possible, if you want to know more, at least what we know, because of course that's all we can give you what we know, then make sure that you ask a question ready for the next Speak Friend and Question. So there's nothing left to do but to get ourselves started, and let's all celebrate and take a little moment to just take in the fact that going forwards we're all going to see Middle-earth strategy battle game. I don't know about you guys out there, but this has certainly been the absolute dream for me and also some other strategy battle gamers that I know who are out there. We've always talked about the fact that it would be wonderful to see the range be combined. So you wouldn't just have Lord of the Rings, you wouldn't just have then The Hobbit, obviously relying on the movie franchises for the branding, but this would merge and become a much more sustainable brand in Middle-earth strategy battle game, which would then of course increase the scope for what models and rules that we could get to see going forwards. We were all ever so slightly, even when we heard that wonderful exciting news that Games Workshop were going to have a dedicated Middle-earth specialist games team, which came out of the blue completely. You know, we had that, we had the news that Throne of Skulls was going to be back on just a week before. GBHL Jamie and I had stood in and done the Plantier and had been talking about the future of the game after GW support was completely gone. Because that is the way that it looked like it was going. That's the way it looked like it was going. And I think all of us have been speculating that even with the return of that, that perhaps we would see a different kind of game. That maybe we would see some board games or the like, but strategy battle game itself might not continue. I think that was one of the big things that a lot of people were quite keen to hear going into that on the Saturday evening. I think it's really important to give a little bit of a background, really, to talk about why we haven't seen anything from Games Workshop over the last couple of years and why we should be very excited going forwards. So let's start with that. Well, it did seem that upon The Hobbit An Unexpected Journey coming out, that this was going to be a huge uptake for Games Workshop, that they would really ride on the crest of the movies, just like they did do with the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that this would explode for them on the same kind of scale. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. That didn't happen in the same kind of way. We've all talked about and seen that the limited edition Escape from Goblin Town sets, for example, you can still get limited edition Escape from Goblin Town sets, and it's years down the line. Well, we of course saw some very fantastic plastic box sets, we saw some wonderful hero models and some great sculpts, and we had this big rule book, and it seemed like we had a lot to look forward to. There was a lot to look forward to. However, by the time that Desolation of Smaug came out, it was clear that that release was somewhat less, and there were rumours amongst the community that this might be because the movie had changed It was very well known and very well publicised that, of course, it went from being 2 movies to 3. And I can confirm that, having heard Adam Troke speak, that this is exactly where Games Workshop were on this. So the reason, or one of the reasons why we didn't see some of the things that we were expecting to see, or those releases were relatively limited, was because some of the guys at Games Workshop didn't actually see some of the things that we saw on screen in the cinema until they were on screen in the cinema. And as such, because a whole bunch of things were being changed constantly and consistently, and right up until a week before these things were being premiered and the like, that it was very, very hard for Games Workshop and other manufacturers and people who had licenses to create toys and such. It's very, very hard for them to keep up and actually have any kind of reliable sort of release schedule for models, because of course I'm sure you can imagine that designing a model, making rules for it, and then putting together all of these things into a book with rules and the like is quite a lengthy process. So Games Workshop are in quite a difficult position, and probably already been caught out a little bit. This is my own narrative for this, but probably already been caught out a little bit if we look at things like Bolg, for example, and the changes to Bolg and how that massively affected, you know, Games Workshop had put, and a lot of toy companies put a lot onto the imagery and marketing of what ended up not being the main villain in An Unexpected Journey and throughout the rest of the trilogy. So already from that early stage, Games Workshop were having to kind of come from behind, as it were, constantly. And you could see that with other releases, such as Thranduil being on a horse rather than an elk, as an example. And of course there were also some, what we would consider to be some strange decisions, which then also, from a community point of view, did start to create that feeling that perhaps Games Workshop hadn't done as well with The Hobbit as they had hoped, and maybe that they were bringing down support. Such as the troops such as Lake Town troops and Gundabad Spearmen and the like being fine cast blisters of 3 for troops, which did always seem like a strange decision. And we always felt that they were destined and supposed to be plastic box sets of troops. And again, I can confirm that this is something that was mentioned, that is what we should have been looking forward to. At the time, Adam Troke and the other person who had been working on An Unexpected Journey had to be moved over to White Dwarf, so we're kind of watching from the sidelines while some of these things happened. And Middle-earth is Adam Troke's absolute passion, his absolute passion. So from hearing him on Saturday night, a very hard position for him to be in, to see what effectively he felt was his baby not going the direction that perhaps he felt that it should maybe go. But that all compounded into our opinion as a community of what was going to be happening going forwards, as less and less models were being released. And this, if you look at how the Battle of Five Armies book was released, of course it was free with White Dwarf, and it's a free download, something which we hadn't seen before. And there were the rumours, of course, that this was because Desolation of Smaug, the source book, had sold so poorly, and that maybe Games Workshop had just had enough, that this was a licence that was too expensive for them, that it was running out soon, and they were just doing their minimum obligation. We've all talked about it. This is what we thought was happening. But no, this is not what was happening. This isn't what was happening. This was not the end of the line. The licence was, despite rumours, the licence was, and different dates and years were bandied about, was due to run out at the end of 2016, so at the end of this year. And members of Games Workshop, the directors and people like Adam Troke, of course, having seen some of the really cool things in the extended versions and the like, that they hadn't been able to produce and to make for the Battle of Five Armies supplement that was supposed to be coming out of the game, of course looking on and seeing the vast potential. And Adam made that case to the directors that we've not really released anything for a year. Remember, we didn't see anything for that period of time, and yet somehow, springing from that, there is this huge community which is built up and built up and built up, which looks like it would sustain the hobby going forwards. That the game was still bringing in revenue, even though, and quite a decent revenue, even though it wasn't getting the support from Games Workshop over that period of time. And that case was made, and fantastically for us, that case has been taken forwards. So we have definitely got, going forwards, Middle-earth strategy battle game. Now, what does this mean? What does Middle-earth strategy battle game mean? Well, let's talk a little bit about what GW licenses actually include, so what they are able to do with that going forwards. So Games Workshop are able to take things from the main body of the text, so not the appendices, they're not privy to, they don't have any kind of license to use things from the appendices, but they can use the main body of the text. They can also use IP from the movies, and they also have some room and scope for their own creations within certain guidelines, as long as it fits certain kind of guidelines. So that is the scope of which we are going to see Middle-earth SBG going forwards. Now, these guys have taken on 3 full-time product designers for this. So remember, we've got a Middle-earth manager, we've got a writer, our very own Jay Clare, but they've also taken on 3 sculptors, 3 model designers. And this is because we're looking at a product run, so a whole product plan that will go to a minimum of 2020. So this is the minimum we can expect over this period of time. This is the gamble from Games Workshop, that our community has grown strong enough to sustain that. So we've got to look and say, okay, we are going to see new stuff going forwards, and we are definitely going to be seeing new stuff hopefully by the end of this summer, and certainly by around October, so Ardacon kind of time. So what kind of things can you guys expect? Well, first of all, it might be a little bit different to what we have seen before. It has been rumoured, so it was rumoured for a little while, that the Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth models going forwards would move to the Forge World department, and the Forge World moulding system. Okay, so for any of you who are aware of Forge World Resin, that is very, very likely what we are going to see going forwards with the Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, and now Middle-earth strategy battle game. Now, I can't go into specific details of that because I don't know, but that is what we're going to see. And as we know, Forge World Resin is incredibly good quality. Now, from a reporting point of view, this does also mean that I have looked at Forge World Resin and the prices do tend to be higher. But I think what we're likely to see is we are going to see some boxes of the games, and yes, the price might be a little bit more, but of course, if you don't want to buy it, you don't have to, and if you want to, you can do. But that is, nothing is set in stone. I've not seen any prices. I've got absolutely no idea what it could be. It might be on one end of the scale, it might be another, but just like with any product, it's worth what you as an individual are willing to pay for it. So what things are we likely to see first? Well, we were very, very privileged to see, I'm sure this is completely out there now, to see a picture of a work in progress. It is a work in progress, and it's one of the big reasons why we weren't allowed to film in there, and we weren't allowed to record in there, or to Facebook straight from there what was going on, or to take pictures. And this is for licensing reasons, from Warner Brothers' point of view, because we were lucky enough to be shown what will likely be the first of the releases, or at least one of the models that we will first see. Now, I want you to think yourselves, and I want you to think about what was the main thing that you felt, the main character that was missing from the Battle of the Five Armies. Who was it? You know, I don't even really need to say it, but we saw this guy and he is awesome. He is awesome. Now, we're all aware that in the time where we have felt like GW has been dwindling down its support, the fellow geeks and hobbyists, you know, they're just nerds like us who absolutely love Middle-earth, taking it upon themselves to kind of create and sculpt the models that they wish were in the game, that they never ended up seeing. But almost certainly now, we have got an official outlet for this, and I can tell you now that with the work that has been done so far on this model, it is absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful model. It's a great pose. It looks like it's been fantastic. I'm going to be buying it, so I hope some of you guys out there are going to be doing that as well. And that should give you an idea about what kind of releases that we're going to see. Okay, so what is the main army that was missing from the Battle of the Five Armies? What were the troops? What were the heroes? What didn't we see? And guys, put that into your imagination. That is what we are going to see. And not only are we going to see those models, but we are also going to see rules for those models, and the rules will be strategy battle game. So where are the rules going to be going forwards if we are going to be seeing these new models, these new things? You know, Adam himself said he was there, he's watching the extended version of Battle of the Five Armies, and could not help but think that would make a really cool model. The rules for this would be really cool, this would be cool. So it looks like those are going to be a lot of the first things that we see. One thing that we can also expect is a new book. That's what we're looking at as well, a new book, a bit of an update on some of the rules. Of course, we've not had a big update on the rules since An Unexpected Journey. We've had a couple of effectively source book journey books along the way, but it looks like that book is going to come out, and maybe that's where we're going to see the majority of those profiles, new profiles, coming in. Although, again, there's speculation, it's not 100% confirmed. You know, there wasn't much in that was 100% confirmed, apart from the things that I will tell you concrete. But I think that we can speculate that that is probably what we're going to see. So we know that we've got lots to see from that point of view, the new stuff, the things that we were maybe a little bit devastated that we didn't see over the course of the three sort of releases, the three main releases, particularly the Battle of Five Armies. So I expect that we might see a Thranduil on Elk. It seems to make sense. We didn't see one of those, did we? I expect that we might see things from the Battle of Five Armies. I know that there are some things that came up as well that you know, that people ask questions about, such as the alternate pose Thorians company. Now those were actually made specifically for the actors and to do some of the pictures with. They were actually sent over as gifts to show Peter Jackson what exactly Games Workshop were doing, and then they were given as gifts to the various actors, which is pretty cool. But one thing that we are going to see going forwards is that GW, the Middle-earth Specialist Games team, seem to be very keen on working with the community. They've never done a seminar and a questionnaire like they did on that Saturday evening. Certainly I know that I have been talking with them directly, I know that others have been talking with them directly, and there is definitely a conversation going in there about really getting involved in the community and recognising that it's the community that's kind of kept this going, and maybe it's going to be that partnership between the community and the Middle-earth Specialist Games division that will really make this project, this new project, an absolute huge success. And one thing that they do want to do is they want to know what things we would like to see. And a question was asked, you know, would you buy the alternate sculpt Thorians company, for example? Now, is that something you would buy? And I don't think there was a hand up in that room who said no. So that's going to give you a little bit of an idea of maybe the way of thinking. Now, that doesn't mean that those are going to be released, by the way, but that is certainly going to be the way of thinking from Adam Troke and his team. And they're going to be looking at it, and they're going to be talking with the community and seeing, right, okay, what is it that we want to see? Which brings us on quite nicely to not just the new stuff, but let's talk a little bit about the old stuff. So what does this mean for Lord of the Rings strategy battle game? What does this mean for the source books? What does this mean for you know, the old model? We're going to see that all go completely. Of course, there's tons of models that have gone out in production, and even the source books, which are vital for playing the game, especially from the Lord of the Rings side of things and those old profiles, of course have started to go out of production. And I believe that in a Speak Fan question not too long ago, I did get asked, you know, what is the first thing that you would do if you were part of the Specialist Games team for the Middle-earth Division? What would be the first thing that you'd do? And I said I would re-release those source books and put them out there and get them re-released. And this is confirmed to be happening, guys. So if you are there, if you are about to bid on eBay for an army source book that's going for about 3 times as much as what the recommended retail price was, then apologies to the sellers, but for the buyers, just wait out. Because these are going to be released. These are vital parts of the game, of getting people into the game, of using all the old models and the old cool stuff from Lord of the Rings. So they are going to be coming back out. Now, are they going to be coming back exactly the same as before? Because of course there are plenty of FAQs and erratas that could be inserted in there, and maybe they would look at changing up some of the profiles which they're aware don't really fit and work with the game as a whole if you're going to create a Middle-earth strategy battle game. Well, the answer is no, and the reason for that is that for every change that they make to those books, it takes approximately about 1 month per change for that to get, when it goes out to Warner Brothers and the like, to get the okay, to get approval. So for every single change that they would make, that's going to add a month onto the production time. So if we got completely new source books, we would be looking at sometime going into next year perhaps, for amendments. So instead what's going to happen is there's going to be a run, they're going to do a big print run so that those source books are available, so that new people getting into the game, they want to use Rohan, they can use Rohan. If they want to use Gondor, they can use Gondor. If they want to use the old Mordor army, they can use the old Mordor army. So that's what's going to be happening with the source books. They are going to be coming back and they're going to be printed, and it's going to be very, very, very cool. And that's going to be happening immediately. So where does that leave profiles and the like? Well, Adam did say that they do want to look over some of the profiles, that there are certain profiles in there that when you look around tables at tournaments, unless someone is just doing it for the fun of it, you don't see them, and that means that there must be something wrong with them. So examples could be the Balrog, let's say. The Balrog is very, very expensive for what he brings to the table. So what would you do to make that different? Now that might not be something that happens immediately, but it is something that they want to look at going forwards. They do want to look at some of those old profiles and maybe even create some new profiles going forwards. But are we going to see, because of course there are lots of profiles out there that there are no models for, there aren't any Corsair Reaver models, there aren't any Sons of Ale on foot, for example. Would they look at doing things like that? Well, I think that they know, and that's GW, they know that there is clearly a demand for that. So there might possibly be the option to have some of those models redone, as it were, or done and made up. But of course we've also got a ton of out of production models. There are lots and lots of models now that you have to spend a fortune to go on eBay, and GW really want to look at it and say, right, okay, so what models would be in demand? Gandalf the Grey on horse, for example, is he in demand? Now the way that they will do this depends very much on the quality of the master sculpt, if they still have one, and the quality of the moulds. Now a lot of those masters, there's a name for them, I can't remember what they're called, but a lot of those master sculpts, we'll call them, don't exist anymore, they've gone away or they've been lost and the like. So it will depend very much on that. And in the situations where there is no mould good enough, or there is no master sculpt which is good enough to create a mould from, then it seems like the team are very much keen and quite interested in the idea of making new sculpts of those old models, and perhaps that would be a good opportunity to bring out new rules and profiles for those models. So we know that it's very hard to get hold of Halbrand with the horn, for example. So will they make Halbrand with a horn? Well, there's now a great possibility. None of this set in stone, but there is now that great possibility if there is a demand for that. But it depends very much on whether the old masters are good enough or whether they have the moulds. So they are quite keen on looking at some of those old profiles. So it's not just going to be all about new profiles, new models and a new book, but they want to start bringing everything together. And this was always the dream, wasn't it, for a strategy battle gamer, for a lover of the Hobbit hobby. I mean, I guess we've got to start calling it something else at some point soon. But that this would all merge together to be a sustainable long-term kind of war game that brought everything in, not just the movie franchises, but also everything from the history. So are we going to see historical stuff? Well, there's a possibility they will do, as long as it's being drawn from the main body of the text or in some way from the movies. They can't go into the appendices, and there is the option to also do some creation based stuff as well. So we do have all of that to look forward to. Now I'm pretty sure that lots of you have got loads of questions, and like I say, I recommend that as soon as possible, because GBHL Jamie and I will probably be putting out we'll probably be getting together to answer the questions for the very, very late Speak Friend and Question incredibly soon. I think I'm going to probably put this out Friday morning-ish, probably. You'll have the plans here later today, and I know that GBHL Jamie and I will be together during the Friday, so during today, so hopefully by the end of the day we'll have filmed it. So as soon as you see this, I recommend getting over to Speak Friend and Question and asking any questions that you might have. So in summary, let's summarise this, let's summarise what we know. We know, and we knew this before, but we know that Games Workshop are committed to taking Middle-earth forwards. We know that it will continue to exist in strategy battle gaming form. Whether that means that some releases will come out like Betrayal at Cal style board games that you can then use the models and the rules for strategy battle game, who knows? I think that would make sense, and it seems to be the way that GW has gone with a lot of its recent box releases. We know that the new releases are likely going to cover a lot of the gaps that we definitely saw during the Battle of the Five Armies by that time, because of course there are tons of things that we have not yet seen that we were hoping to see, and it seems to make sense that the first place that GW would look would be looking at that. Remember that Warner Brothers were very, very keen to continue the relationship with GW, and GW were actually keen, especially in its new guise, to continue the relationship with Warner Brothers. That has been asked for. They are working together very, very well, apparently. So yeah, we know that it's likely that all the first stuff is going to be from the Battle of the Five Armies. It makes sense. We know that it will fit in with strategy battle game because it's Middle-earth strategy battle game. That's what we've got to look forward to from a branding point of view. We know that along with new models that it's likely that we are going to get a new book, which is quite exciting. We know that a lot of the new models are going to be made in the Forge World process, the Forge World Resin process. Now, we don't know how this will affect the prices, but we can speculate that with distribution, that possibly that does mean that a lot of the Middle-earth stuff is likely to maybe be direct only, but that isn't confirmed. That isn't confirmed. Apart from in maybe some special circumstances. So you might only be able to purchase that if you are at Warhammer World or if you are ordering online. But that is just speculation. That's just my opinion of that, looking at the current Forge World model. We also know that they are committed to bringing back some of the out of production models and looking at doing some runs of those, and where they don't have good enough master sculpts and the like, or molds, that they are interested in potentially creating new models of old profiles. That some old profiles, they're quite open to the idea of updating them. We know that the old source books, though we know that they are going to be coming out very, very, very soon, very, very soon, and it's just a print run of what's gone out before. It will not include any changes or FAQs or any mistake updates or the like. It literally will be going out as you know it at the moment, and that is almost that sort of gift back to the community, as it were, to sort of say, look, I know that you've all been looking for these books, that you've been having to spend a fortune on eBay to get them, but here you go. Because we know that now how long it takes to get each amendment done for the source books. We know that, of course, if out of production models are being brought back, will they be brought back? Will they be brought back in metal? Will they be brought back in the new resins and the like? Well, I think it's been suggested that if the molds are still good for the old stuff, or if they're doing it from a metal model, that they would continue to do that in metal, for example. I'm sure that that was hinted at, but I could not say for certain. These are the things that we know, okay? And yep, we could have maybe summarised that in a Facebook post, but I think it's important, you know, I think with it being such amazing news, I think we were all really, really keen to have an opportunity to discuss that through the medium. Of course, we are YouTubers, through the medium which we have specialised in, as it were, over the last couple of years. And I know that I was very, very keen to make a video to effectively say to everybody that we have a lot to look forward to if we do continue to support our hobby. Some people may choose not to, some people might find prices prohibitive if prices do go up, and that of course is an individual's prerogative. But for those of you that want to see GW continue to support the hobby, then I do suggest getting behind it, because it does look like the future is incredibly exciting. We know that Throne of Skulls is going to continue. Nick Baton and the team were incredibly happy and impressed with how quickly it sold out. I believe it was one of the quickest selling out events that Warhammer World have done since it's been reopened, which is great news, and I know that they were very, very pleased with how the event went over the course of the weekend. So we know that Throne of Skulls is going to be back. We know that there is a doubles event later in the year for certain, so make sure that you go and check that out. I believe the tickets will go on sale sometime in June or July. So if you want to get involved in doubles of Warhammer World, then that is to come. You've got lots of exciting things, so not just Ardacon and the other tournaments that are going on, but Warhammer World will be doing another Hobbit SBG tournament, and it might not be Hobbit SBG then, it might be Middle-earth strategy battle game. So there you go, guys. I'm sure you got a ton of questions. That is what we know. That's what I know so far. Hopefully it was slightly interesting. Hopefully it explained some of GW's decisions over the last year, maybe even 2 years, since Desolation of Smaug came out. Why we didn't see so many models, because of some of the changes from the scripts to the movies at the last second meant that it was very, very hard for GW to plan. But the exciting thing is that there is a product plan until 2020, and we have been advised that if we do want to really show support, that if you've got really cool pictures of your minis, get them sent in. I believe you want to get them sent over to White Dwarf, and I think that the email address is literally team@whitedwarf.com, I believe. But you can go and check that out, because they want pictures from Middle-earth. They want cool pictures. They want to see pictures of your terrain. They want to see pictures of your models, because they really want to see this game go forwards. Are we going to see new terrain? Well, you know, if it's going through that resin process, I mean, there is a possibility that we might see something along the realm of battle boards, like we all saw little snippets of some Lake Town terrain. There might be a chance that that actually comes out in the future. We don't know 100%, but these are all things that are perhaps being hinted at going forwards. It'd be really interesting to hear what you guys think. What would you like to see going forwards? Get yourself involved in the conversation and comment below. I want lots of positivity. If you're not here for positivity, don't comment, because we don't want our bubble to be burst. We're really excited that it means that we're going to get to continue to make content for you guys, Middle-earth strategy battle gaming content for you going forwards. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and you guys know what to do. Don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. You can support your Hobbit hosts. GBHL Jamie has now got a job at Steamforged Games. We'd like to wish him absolute massive congratulations. I know he's working there part-time, but now he's got a full-time job. He doesn't feel like he's going to be able to contribute the 2 days that he committed to for Patreon. I know that he was very, very dedicated to his patrons. Yeah, he was always incredibly conscious and almost ever so slightly guilty if he wasn't able to make his fulfillment. It's one of the reasons why I stepped back a little bit as well, so that he could make that content. But he does have a great job with Steamforged now, and I'm sure that we all join together to wish him all of the best, and also to thank Jamie for putting up some great content over the last few months. I know that he's incredibly thankful to all of you guys. So now that he has a full-time job, you can support me making the Battle Report content, because of course I take days off from the business to do that. You can support me by checking out the Hotcakes Gaming Patreon. Go and check out that page. And you're going to support the Palantir team by donating to pick up the SBG magazine, which will be coming out in time for Desolation of Stockport. So guys, you know what to do. Support your Middle-earth strategy battle gaming hobby. What a great thing to hear out loud, eh guys? And happy strategy battle gaming.